Okay, so on home page, let's first create our skeleton. So pages, main page, we will remove everything, whatever we have inside this, we'll remove everything. Then we will simply have a grid with two columns. Column definitions. First one, I need 75%. So let's say 0.75 star. And second one, I need 0.25 star. Alright. The first column for menu items category, all that stuff. And the second column for current order items. Okay. Inside this, for the first one, we will use a grid with 3 rows. Okay. Okay, first thing, grid dot column 0. So here I'm saying that this belongs to this first 0.75 column. And for this one, I'll say row definitions, auto, and star. We'll see what we are going to add inside this. After this, I'm going to have one more, let's say grid only. We'll see what control fits best for this. So grid, here I'll say grid dot column 1. Let's for now have just a label with the text. I'll say current order items, and here I am going to have, let's say, one vertical stack layout with grid dot row 0, which is default. Here I'm going to say label text. Here I'll say first I'll show greeting, which will be like, let's say, hello Abhay Prince, my name. We'll make it dynamic later. And then second one, here we are going to have our categories list. And then we are going to have third, where we are going to have our menu items list. Save everything. Let's quickly run it and let's see how it looks. There is some error, counter button does not exist because we cleared everything from this main page.xaml and we didn't clear main page.xaml.cs. So here we need to remove this count because we are not using it now, and this on counter clicked method as well. Okay, run it. Alright, our application is here. So here we can see this home, hello Abhay Prince, category list, menu items list, then this current order items. Okay. Now let's do this. First, let's have some coloring on this. So this section we'll have white only, but for this right section, current order item section, we will have some different color. That will be a variation of this wheat color, this color which we are using as a primary color. We will have that light wheat, we could say. So on main page.xaml, on this grid, let's say background color equals light wheat does not exist, I guess. So I have a color, let me copy that color. That is hash FFF1E4. Save it. So this color, the lighter version of this wheat color. Okay. So we are going to use this color at multiple places. So let's do this. Let's have this color as a global color. So we'll go to our resources, styles, and colors.xaml. Okay, here I'm going to copy it and I'll say light wheat, and then I'm going to add this here. Okay, save it. Now we can use this light wheat color. Instead of this thing, we'll say static resource lightweight. Save it, and it should be saved. All right. Now this home and this section, this does not look good. We don't need this home here. Okay. So this home, this is coming from the title in our app shell, but we can remove that in here as well in this current content page. What we can do, we can simply say shell dot, or let's say we can remove this nav bar completely. So we'll say shell dot nav bar is visible, we'll make it false. Now that is gone. Now we have this current order items, this section, and we have this hello Abhay Prince category list and manual items list. Okay. Now let's quickly on this vertical stack layout, grid dot row. We have row definitions as auto, and star. So what we'll do, this first label, it will be grid dot row 0. The second label will be grid dot row 1, and then the third one would be grid dot row 2, and we'll remove this vertical stack layout from here. Save it. What was that? That was auto, and star. Okay, it is taking all this stuff, but we are okay with this right now. This is not very good, but at least we have some skeleton ready. Now we'll work on this, getting this name from the user. We'll work on that later, but first thing, now we'll work on this categories list. So for this categories list, we know our database related stuff is ready for this, but we need a view model. We are going to use MVVM, so we need a view model to get these categories. All right, so that will work next. Let's stop everything, and in our view models folder, I am going to create a new class. Let's say home view model or main view, yeah, home view model. This is going to be public, and here we are going to use community toolkit.mvvm package. So this should be a subclass of observable object, which comes from community toolkit.mvvm.component model. And for this to work, the class must be partial so that it can generate code using source generators for this class only. Okay, here we need list of categories. Okay, we need a list of category. So first thing, can that list of category be changed? Can we add items to it, remove items from it? If yes, we need to work with observable collection. If not, we don't need to use observable collection. So in this, we will not add or remove any item from the category list, right? We will simply populate list at once, and then we will directly use it throughout our application, we could say. So instead of having it as an observable collection, we will simply have it as a direct an array, so menu category array, and here we'll say underscore categories, and we want it to notify property whenever we are fetching the data from the database and we are assigning to this field. We should notify the UI. So we need this as an observable property. That's why it should be, and we are using MVVM community toolkit MVVM package, so it should be a field, and on this field we can simply apply observable property attribute. Now we are good to use this, and let's have a default value of empty array. Now we can directly make changes to this. And how we will make change to this? For that, first we need database service injected into this home view model. For that, we'll add our constructor. Here we'll say database service, And let's create and assign a field for this database service is ready. After that, when we will populate data into these categories, so for that we will create a method here, public async task, and here we'll say initialize async. We will simply initialize uh, this view model. So in initialize, we will fetch categories from our database service. That is what we will do in this method. All right. So here we can say categories. Now you see this is a property of categories, not underscore categories. This is property of categories which community toolkit.mvv has generated for us. If we F12 on this, we can see partial class home view model. Okay. Which community toolkit mvv has generated with this category, which is the baking field of this underscore category. So we can directly assign something to this, and that something is going to be await underscore database service dot get menu categories async. All right, now our data is ready. Now this initialize async, from where we are going to call it, it can be called multiple times within a single instance or within a single when we have application open. If we are moving around, then it can be executed multiple times, so there's no point of populating it again and again, right? For this, what we'll do, we will simply keep track of if we have already initialized this or not. For this, we'll say private bool is initialized flag, and when we are entering into this method, we will simply check if we already initialized it. We will return from here, we will not do anything. Already initialized, we will not do anything. If that's not the case, we'll set this is initialized to true, and then we will initialize the categories. Now previously it was task, but now it can instantly return with this. So there's no point of using task. In this case, we'll use simply value task, because now for the first time it will take some time to populate data, but after that for all the subsequent requests it will directly use it and instantly will return from here. So we can change task to value task for this purpose. Cool. Now we are good with this. Now we can have one loading indicator as well, because it might take some time when it is trying to load these categories. So we will have one private bool, let's say is loading or is busy, whatever you are using. This is also going to be an observable property, and we can have a default value of true if you want, or we can set it true inside this. After setting is initialized to true, we can say is loading to true, and then it will fetch the categories. After that, we'll set is loading to false. Now we are good. Okay, after categories we'll add we'll populate menu items as well, but for now let's stick with category. We'll do everything related to category first, then we'll move on to other stuff. Cool. Now we need to use this home view model on our main page. In main page.xml, we will inject this home view model. Use this home view model. We'll create and assign a field underscore home view model. For this page, we'll set binding context for this page. This should be this underscore home view model. Now we have this home view model ready as a binding context, but we have an initialized method. We need to initialize this home view model. For this, in this main page, we can say override on appearing, or we can use on navigated to. We can try both methods. On appearing. After maybe base dot on appearing, we can say await underscore home view model dot initialization. Or we can do one more thing. Instead of using this in on appearing, always calling this, we can try one more thing which I saw in some of the samples from David from .NET MAUI team. So what he's done, he's created a method here. So private async, that was async void. So an event actually. Let's say load initial data or maybe initialize. And inside this, there was call to this method. And because this is an async void, they can simply call this method from here, from constructor directly. Let's stick with this approach. All right. Cool. Now we will start implementing using these categories on this main page.xaml. But before that, because we have injected these things in main page and in home view model, we have injected database service. We need to register main page and home view model in our dependency container. So let's go to MAUI program.cs. In here, after this add singleton, let's say add singleton home view model and add singleton main page. So we have registered these. Save everything. Now we will be good. On main page, first thing we will add a namespace for our view model. We'll say XMLNS, the name, let's say VM for view model. Here we can say view models. And then we will need menu category as well. We'll change it. Right now I'm just going with the flow. Then I will show you how we implement some of the things. We'll start working with the things we stuck somewhere, or when we are adding some feature, then we might come back and revisit some code and modify it. So we'll modify this thing. Here we have data. So this will be data from our application, this namespace. After that, for this page, we have binding context ready as our home view model. So on this, we'll set data type as home view model, which will come from VM, this namespace. So our view model is this home view model. All right. Now in this row definition, this thing, yeah, one more thing, when I was working on this application, so I have used flex layout, but flex layout on Windows has a lot of problems. So with nested flex layout, we have problems for changing the font if we have flex layout and inside that we have some label or button, and if we are changing the font, then also it breaks, throws unhandled exception. Why? I have no idea. I have seen there were a couple of issues raised on GitHub. So for that purpose, I'm not going to use flex layout in this entire application, but there are so many places where flex layout would make sense if they fixed it. But we can achieve those things with other controls as well. That is the beauty of this. XAML, we could say we can implement same layout using multiple approaches, using different components, different controls. Okay. So in this first section, in 0.75 star, 75% in the grid, after name is categories list. Here we are going to display our list of categories in a horizontal list. So we are going to use collection view here with item source as binding categories. All right. And inside this, we are going to have, because we need, by default, collection view is a vertical list. We want horizontal, so we need to explicitly tell it. So we'll say collection view dot items layout. This will be a linear items layout, and on this we'll say orientation horizontal. And after this collection view.items layout, let's save it. Let's run it and we'll see the design in real time. We'll design it and we'll see how it is looking, and then we'll play around with this. Okay, this here, and we can see this horizontal list with this ugly text. Okay, let me set it UI on top this, on bottom this. Let me set this, then we'll start designing. Okay, here I'll start designing. First thing, we need this collection view in the second row. So we'll say create dot row 1. Okay, now we have it here. On top, we need some spacing. So on this grid, row definition and all this, we'll say row spacing, let's say 10. We have some spacing here. Then in this collection view, by default, it is showing all these things. In this linear items layout, we can have item spacing, let's say 10. Save it. We should see this spacing. You see, we have this spacing now in these items. Now we can start designing these. For this, what we'll do, we'll say collection view dot item template. We'll define our item template, which will be a data template of data type. So X data type here, it would be menu category, which will come from data namespace. Okay, now here what we will do, we will have a border. Let's have border directly. Inside this, we are going to have image and label. Image, that will be icon, and then label, that will be name of the category. So for that, we'll use horizontal stack layout. Inside horizontal stack layout, I'm going to use image with source, binding, and on this menu category, we have icon. Okay. On this image, we will have height and width, some small height and width, let's say 20 height request, and width request also as 20. Save it, and we can see something. You see, we have these things. After this image, we will have a label with the text, binding, and name of the category. So name. Save it, and now we can see this as well. Now we'll design this. First thing, we need both of these things to vertically center. So image, let's say vertical options at center. On label, let's say vertical options at center. All right. Then we need some spacing between these. On this horizontal stack layout, we will say spacing, let's say 5. We have some spacing now. Now on this border, let's have some padding. Right now it is touching the left and right section. Let's have some spacing. On this border, we'll say padding 20. It is a lot, so we need 20 from left and right, but from top and bottom, let's say 10. So we'll say padding 20, 10. Cool. Save everything, and we are good. Not completely good, but at least we can see something. All right, now inside this border, we will have a background color. In this background color, we will use a static resource color, light wheat color, this color. Cool. After that, on this border, we'll have stroke shape. So we need rounded rectangle shape on this. The stroke shape, round rectangle of a corner radius of 10. This 10. Okay. And now this border, the stroke on this border element, we don't need this. On this, we'll say stroke thickness to 0. Cool. Now we can see this without any stroke. Save everything, and cool. Now on this label, I guess we are good with this label, right? We can just change the label color to this label color. We'll say text color on this label. Let's say maroon. I'm going to use this maroon color as well at a lot of places. Save, and now we are good. Everything looks fine now. Okay, so our category is ready. If we do this, we can see this horizontal scroll bar, although we will not have it this small because we will need some minimum height and width for our application. Okay, now our category design is ready. Now next thing is we can tap on any of this category, right? So when we tap any of this category, it should change. First thing, it should have some default selected category. So we will by default have the first category as selected. In this case, this beverages. It should be selected. We should have some indicator that should show that this category is selected. Then on the basis of that selected category, we should populate the menu items list. Okay. So for selection, and when we are tapping on any of these category, we should react to that change. We should change that selected item. So for that, what we will do, we need to have some click or tap gesture we will have on this border. But for this, what property we will be changing? Because right now it is, if you go to home view model, this is menu category, which is actually database table, database class, database entity, which does not have any observable property, right? But we need one observable property in this particular case. For this particular case, is selected. We'll name it is selected. So what we will do, we will actually create a derived property of this menu category. We'll simply come here, Solution Explorer. In models, we'll create a new class. Let's stop it. We will need to make some changes. So in model, add class, we'll say menu category model. Menu category model. Let's copy these things. ID name icon from menu category, database table, make it public. And now we need this as a property, a class which will have one observable property. So we will use community toolkit.mvvm. So this needs to be a subclass of observable object from community toolkit.mvvm.component model. And for this, it should be a partial class. And inside this, after ID name and icon, we will have one private bool underscore is selected as an observable property. Now we will work on this menu category model on the UI side. Because here we can change this is selected and we can modify it, and UI can react to this change. So we need to use it. Let's do this. Let's have the conversion from menu category database entity to this view model in here only. Let's create a mapper here. We'll say public static, let's say menu category model from entity. Entity would be menu category from our data folder entity. From here we'll say new menu category model, ID, name, icon, and it's selected. It will have default value as false because we are using .NET 8, so we can skip this. We already have this type indicator in here. Now we are good. Menu category model. Now we'll go to home view model. Here we'll change the type of these categories. Now it should not be menu category, it would be menu category model. Okay, now this thing is returning as menu category. So on this we will apply select. We'll actually convert this to menu category model dot from entity dot to edit. Now our categories are ready. Now we need to change one more thing in our UI main page.xaml. Now the type of these categories is not this data menu category. This is menu category model from models namespace. So we will add one more namespace in here. We'll say XMLNS models. This should be models from our application. And then type would be menu category model from models. Now property names, icon and name, these are same, but we have one more property now, that is selected. So first thing, by default we will have the first category as selected category. Okay, first category should be selected. So for that, what we'll do, we'll go to our view model. Here after categories, we'll say private. Okay, we don't need this as public. We can have this as private, this categories. So private menu category model here, and this should be null label. Should it be null label? I don't think so. It should be null label. Or should it be null label? Yes, let's have it null label. Here we'll say selected category underscore selected category with a default value as null, because we are having it as null. And this should be an observable property because it can change. Now when we are initializing the view model, we have initialized our categories. After initializing the categories, we will have the first category as selected. Selected category equals categories of 0. First category is selected. Okay. And from this categories collection, categories of 0 dot is selected. On this also we'll say the first category is selected from this array, and then we will use this selected category to use later on this page in this view model. So the first category is selected and we have selected is selected to true. Now we are good. Now what we'll do, let's quickly run it and I'll do some changes so that we can see the selected category related changes. Now we need to use this as like this only. Let me set this on the both of these on the UI so that we can see the design in real time. On main page, we have image, we have label, we have border. So if the current category is selected, what we will do on this border, we will change its background color. And it should be dynamic. So on this border, we will use triggers. So border dot triggers. Here we'll use a data trigger. Well, it is be a data trigger. It will trigger the change on the basis of some data. So target type is going to be border because we are applying this trigger on border. Then the binding for this will be binding is select. Okay. And whenever the is selected value is true, then something should happen. And that something would be setter, and property will be background color, and the value would be maroon color because that is the color I'm using. So you see, because right now the first category is selected, so its background color changed to maroon, and all other are fine. Now when this selected, this background color is this, the front color, the text color should be white. Okay, so the same type of trigger we will add on this label where we have our name. So let's quickly do this. On this also we'll do the same thing. We'll say label dot triggers. Let's copy this data trigger, and in this data trigger the target type, it should be label here because we are applying it on label, is selected. Setter, not background color, we need text color to be white. So if is selected is true, then change text color to white. This is what this data trigger is saying. You see, now we have this selected. All these are not selected, but this first one is selected, so we can see this thing. Cool, it is coming up pretty good, right? Do let me know in the comment if you're liking this. Okay, next thing we'll do, we need to have the tap gesture recognition on this. So if we are tapping on any other category, it should be selected. The next one should be selected and the previously selected category should be unselected, because we can have only one category selected at a time. Okay. For this, we need to have some commands in our home view model. Let's stop it. We'll name it, let's say private void select category. And in this, we can get maybe category ID or complete category object. It's up to us. Let's have category ID only. Okay. And on the basis of this category ID, first, if we are tapping on the same category which is selected, we will skip. We will not do anything. So for that, what we can do, you can simply say selected category dot ID. If this is same as this category ID, we will simply return from here. We will not do anything. We'll say the current category is already selected. If yes, okay. And if that's not the case, what we will do, we will get the existing selected category equals from the categories dot first dot default. Although first should work because we are clicking an item on that categories collection only. So C goes to c.id equals category ID. And on this existing selected category dot is selected, we will set it to false because now that category is not selected anymore. And we will access this new category. So we'll say new selected category, or let's say newly selected category. Or should we do this? Let's do this. Comment this and let's do this. Instead of having this category ID, let's access the complete category object. Menu category model category. Let's do this. So let's see if this thing works. Here we'll say if this category ID is already selected, we'll simply skip it. If that's not the case, we will get the existing selected category, we'll set it to false, or we can try setting this directly from selected category. Selected category dot is selected. I just want to see if this thing is working. It should work ideally because these are the same references in selected category. Is selected false. After that, we will set category dot is selected to true. That means this is the newly selected category. So on this is selected should be true. and then this selected category, this should be same as this new selected category. So selected category. Okay, this is not going to work. It is my bad, because now we will change the references. Okay, let's stick with the previous approach. I'm sorry for this. So it would make more sense. It will be clearer as well. There is no point of introducing complexity. Okay, existing selected category, we are good. Now newly selected category, this we can get from categories dot first c dot id equals category id, and now I got the problem. Existing selected category, categories dot first, it should be where c dot is selected was true. That was the existing selected category. Newly selected category is with this category id. Now on newly selected category, we'll set is selected to true, and we'll modify the selected category, this one, to this newly selected category. Now everything is in place. Now this should be a command, so we'll use community toolkit.mvvm for this. So we'll add relay command attribute on this. Now we can use this select category on our main page.xaml. Okay. Now whenever we'll click on this border, so let's add gesture recognizer on this border. So we'll say border dot gesture recognizers. Here we'll say tab gesture recognizer, and in here we'll add a command, and this command will be binding. Now here right now this binding refers to this item template of this collection view, right? So but we need to navigate to the view model, the binding which its parents has. That means this current page has this content page. Here we have home view model. So from this border tab gesture recognizer, from this we will navigate upward. So on this binding, we'll say this is not the default binding. Let's use a source. Which source? Relative source. And ancestor type, let's traverse ancestor, yani means in top direction till where you get this ancestor. Which ancestor? X type home view model. So here we are saying for this binding, the source would be from this, it will be a relative source where ancestor type is home view model. That means it will traversing upside and it will reach to this home view model. Now it reached here, and on this home view model we will tell it that you need to call this select category command. Now pay attention, this is a private void method with select category, but we have applied this relay command which has generated a new public method with the name select category command. That we can verify from here. We will say select category command. You see, we can go here. It has generated us for this property, which we can use, which we will use in our XAML. So in main page.xaml, here after setting this source, we'll say the path is going to be select category command, and then we need to provide command parameter as well, which is the category ID, right? So in binding we will have ID, which is category ID. Save everything, and now we should be good. If I'll run it, it should show us the expected behavior. By default the first one should be selected, and if we select any other category, the previous selected should be unselected and the newly clicked should be selected. Let's see if everything is working as we are expecting. Snacks, it is not working. Desserts, it is not working. Something is not right. And what is not right? Let's see if it is going till there. home view model, put a breakpoint, tap on it, and it is not going there. We have missed something. Main page.xml, tab gesture recognizer, binding, source, relative source, select category command. Let's see in output if we can see something is, if there is some error. Rerun. It didn't go there. Border, gesture recognizer, tab gesture recognizer, command, binding, source, relative source, ancestor type, home view model. We have closed this one, then this one. Command, then command parameter, binding ID. Everything looks fine. I might be making some silly mistake or some minor thing is missing. Do let me in the comment if you guys figure out or if you know what the issue is. Home view model, home view model. This is actually home view model only. And here we have select category with relay command. Select category command. Let's clean and check. There's nothing on top of my mind right now. Let me clean and reopen it and I'll see. Let me uninstall the app which is right now installed. Then I'll try to run it. And I cleaned that up, uninstalled the currently published app, installed app, and I when I'm running it, I'm getting this error. With this, we got something different, so we need to fix this error as well. It is saying no such table menu category, and it is from get menu categories async, which I guess coming from home view model where we have this initialize async here. That means what is happening, this thing is getting executed before this initialize and seed. Okay, so what we should do, instead of doing this, we should not use await, or we should not continue from here. We should do this thing, initialize and seed database, in our app.xaml.cs, where we have this initialize database async. Either we should not have it in onStart, we should have it here, or if we are having it here, yeah, I think we should have it in here in initialize component. Yeah, let's do this. Let's move this in here, and we will not continue from here. We will wait for this to finish. So we should wait for it. So instead what we can do, let's quickly, maybe let's do this task.run async await, call this database service initialize async, and then wait for it, or configure await dot get awaiter dot get result. So it will simply wait here till this operation is completed. Okay, and using this, we don't need this database service private read only variable here, and we can simply skip this thing as well, and we can use this database service directly like this. So save it, and let me do this. Let me do the same thing, clean, and uninstall the app. Then we'll try this again. Let's run it again. and we are here. So that SQLite database error is gone, but this thing is still not working. There is something missing, some minor thing which I might be missing here. In main page.xaml, in here only, I guess I'm missing something. Hmm. Oh my god, what a silly mistake. As I was saying that this is selected category command. But this is not the name of our command, right? This is select category, not selected category. So select category command. Run. And it came here. Let's remove this breakpoint first. See if it is working. It should work. You see? Snacks, desserts, fast food, main course, beverages. Now this is working as we are expecting it to work. Now if I click on the already selected category, nothing will happen because we are already on that selected category only. Cool. So looks like this category selection is done. Now we can start working on this menu items list on the basis of this selected category. Okay.